All right, good evening, my friends. It's Carpo here, and I'm speaking from the back porch. Hopefully, the volume is not too loud or too quiet. I'm using my new phone. I just picked this up off Craigslist for like $50, and it's an HTC One, and it's still a couple of years old. I just bought it off somebody, and I'm using it as a test run because actually I realized how crappy my old phone was, and I was unable to really even make any calls. I'm just gonna set it right here. This will be the best spot. So, yeah, I I've been using this phone all day, but it hasn't been hooked up yet because it's still reported lost or whatnot from the previous owners. And all the different things that I've done on this little device already have just really inspired me to make this video about technology, just how it's surpassing us. And as a background, for the last 2 years, I've had a broken phone. I dropped it at work and it cracked the screen. Before that, I had a broken phone for a year or two, and I just never replaced them. And it's not a matter of not being able to afford one. It's really just, if it's already broken, why bother? I'm just going to break the next one. But more than that, there's kind of a little hidden, uh, in the back of my mind, I know that having a device distracts me even more than I'm already distracted by technology. And like I said, it's not even hooked up to the internet yet. Today I've already made videos, taken pictures, made panoramic, views of the park, and then I've surfed the web, gone onto YouTube and various apps and whatnot. The things that a phone does, the people who are growing up with it today, let's say anyone who's in their early 20s, that's all they know. I mean, people then they barely even remember flip phones, and it's not about the old days. It's amazing how fast it happens. It really blows my mind. Kind of like when people say it's Star Trek, they had no clue. If you look at the movies today, you see how much our view of the future has changed. And back then, they would show 20 years in the future and it would be this crazy space age place with floating cars. Now they'll show 50, 100 years in the future and it's almost just like it is now. And that tells me something, that we've learned a little bit about who we really are, instead of thinking that we're yearning for some transhuman, space age existence. We find that a lot of people just want to live and be happy, but the technology is there and it's pulling at us. It's something that if we don't use it, we get left behind. An example is Facebook. I closed my account a couple of years ago, and I'd had it shut down for over a year, and then too many customers were asking me, you should set up your Facebook. I want to contact you on Facebook. And I realized how many people just use only Facebook to communicate. And I have a few friends, that's the only place I can reach them. And so, even if it's not the only place, it's the best place. And so I understand that while I despise Facebook and the narcissism that it endures, and it's still a little bit of, it's a very important way. I heard to communicate, and I heard somebody earlier say in a show it was about narcissism, and it was interesting. Narcissism is there's a difference between just mere arrogance or outspokenness and an actual narcissism that really you think you're superior, you think you're better than other people, you think that you should have the best of, and that people should serve you first. And and I watched this kind of interview. It was like a Vice episode, and it was kind of cheesy. They were interviewing this guy who's a narcissist, who's like a recovering narcissist, but he claims that he's like the ultimate narcissist. My whole thought was, this guy is aware of what he is, yet he's making the choice to remain that way. But your brain circuitry does tend to make you think in certain ways. You can be humbled and broken. I'd say if a person's an extreme narcissist and they really think that they're the greatest, then maybe they need a psychedelic journey to break them down into reality. Because if nothing else is going to work, if you can't make subtle changes, to realize that you're just another person, then you might need to work on that. But anyhow, that's not. I'm just saying that the internet has allowed narcissism to flourish. It allows people to pick at one another and really abuse people, because apparently all narcissists are abusers, and that's what sets them apart from just arrogant people. They have to put everyone down, and they think they're the greatest, and that's a tough one. But here's the thing. I realized that since the term was only coined back in the 90s, and I thought that's kind of crazy, and then I realized it's because our whole history of humanity has cherished the notion of narcissism, of thinking that you're great, of telling others that you're great, of trying to prove everything you do is wonderful and that you do the best of everything. And when people do that, people believe them. It's one of the things that's really irked me in life, if anything. It's watching charlatans take advantage of people's ignorance. Because I can spot a charlatan a mile away. They're always trying to prove something or to gain something. And that's a difference between a person who's just knowledgeable and educated. In fact, the charlatan can be very educated, or they can be a complete buffoon. But generally the narcissist, what they're all about is themselves first. Always. And they might lose empathy. I would imagine that, I'm not sure about the correlation, but I would imagine that the sociopathy, or rather having sociopathic tendencies, which means that you basically have less empathy and emotion towards others, then that might be a fostering, a place to foster that type of behavior. I'm not sure. Who am I? I'm just some stoner on this back porch. What do I know? Sorry, I had to take a bong hit real quick. But you see, that's just it. That's what I try to admit, that I am just a stoner on my back porch. That I am just a guy speaking how I feel at the moment. And that sometimes I'm wrong, and sometimes it's incorrect. But generally, the reason why I don't get confronted a lot on claims is because I try not to make claims, if that makes sense. I talk about a ton of different things, but I never say, here, I'm here to teach you, or I'm going to tell you how it is, or, you need to learn this, and if you're not this way, There are, of course, times when I will say that people who act a certain way, or have certain attitudes, behaviors, or opinions, are idiots to me, or at least in that way. Kind of like I was having a discussion with someone the other day, and they were trying to corner me about this, Trump, and how he said, basically, you're implying that people who are voting for Trump are idiots. And I said, well, that's how I feel. I'm brutally honest. It doesn't mean I think that they're dumb completely. It's just that I feel a certain way. After the election, does it matter? No, of course not. I get along with Trump supporters. I get along with everybody because I don't let politics get in the way of being a human. Who gives a shit who's president of the U.S.? Would you really lose friends or family over that? Over things that none of us really know? And that's just it. There's so much conflict that happens over misunderstandings or things that we really don't know the truth of. And we build up all these emotions about things. And then when we get called out on something, yeah, sometimes it's hard to admit we were wrong. But it's so much more comfortable in the end to just say, well, I don't know. And we all know the type of folks who want to say that they always know and they always have an answer. Yeah, I tend to be that way myself when I'm around certain people. My mom says that, that I always have to have an answer. I'm like, well, I know a lot of stuff. Doesn't mean I'm always right, but I really do try to have an opinion on everything, but leave it open and say, well, if you feel that way, so be it, right? But like I was saying, the narcissism and the reason why it wasn't really a big deal before the 90s or didn't have a title was probably because of the fact that all the way through the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, it was the me generations. I mean, we were all about gaining more. It was keeping up with the Joneses and proving that you have what it takes to be successful. Which I guess I had a discussion with someone earlier, one of my subscribers, and we'd been talking back and forth about what success is, and I was saying success is happiness, and she was saying how a success is, being recognized for what you've done and doing something better than other people. And I can totally understand that perspective, although I don't really agree with it, but it's all semantics. It's just the word, success. What does it mean? Well, it made me really, whenever I think about what I want in life, I think, well, it'd be great to be rich. It'd be great to be wealthy, and successful. But on the other hand, is that really something that I want or need? And I find that my whole reason for, like, if I did want to gain wealth, I looked deep inside and said, well, it's not for myself. It's because I'd love to be able to raise my children better, and let's say, my wife wouldn't have to work as much. Those kind of things. It's selfless, but it's selfish at the same time. Human behavior is complicated. I listen to people talk about psychology and ideas and behaviors on YouTube and elsewhere and videos. There's some really smart people out there. And quite a few of them actually are narcissists. Because a lot of people who are very timid or don't like to debate or argue, they don't tend to stick their neck out and make videos. You have to be pretty thick-skinned. So either you're thick-skinned and you're a philosopher, or you're thick-skinned and you're a scientist, or you're thick-skinned and you are an expert on being a narcissist. And there's several channels out there where people just want to tell you the truth. I hate to say it, a lot of the times truth is in the name of their videos and of the titles, and it's always about the truth. But there's a difference between truth and then just wanting to tell everyone that you're right. And I've seen that behavior, come up in certain people over the years. And it's best to just walk away from that, In other words, if you present a fact to someone that what they're saying is wrong or a claim is wrong, and they deny you and tell you you're an idiot or a shill or whatnot, it's best to just walk away. It's not even worth, having that discussion. Hey, it's 7:19 right now. Right on. Well, anyway, this is still my test video, so I don't even know if it's going to upload because it's on my phone. So I guess I should just end it now and upload it. So, peace, everybody. Hope you're doing well, and stay fresh, y'all.